that seems small, but it's so big. Welcome to the official, unofficial Sea of Thieves podcast, a podcast dedicated to Sea of Thieves and other rare games, but mainly Sea of Thieves. And this entire episode is dedicated to Season 9, which released a little while ago. Just like Season 5, this one mainly focuses on bringing us smaller updates and quality of life additions to increase our pirate experience. But are these additions enough to warrant a full season? How happy are we really with these additions? And what additions could have been added to make the season even better? It's time to speak our mind, and to help me out, I am once again assisted by my wonderful co-host.
Hello, it's me, AShinyRay again, here to, I guess, complain again. No, it's not going to be like that. I think it's probably going to be the opposite. But yeah, hello, I'm back. Hi.
Always happy to have you. And to make this episode even more epic, we invited another guest as well.
Hey guys, it's Playthru. I'm here to talk too long about a season update again. And I'm excited. I can be the opposite of Ray, maybe. Or maybe we'll just start saying the same things. I love Season 9.
Well, we will see. Happy you're here. And you're a returning guest as well.
It's great. Yeah. Back from Season 7.
Yeah, are you happy to be back?
I am thrilled to be back. I very much was excited. I actually, believe it or not, when I was on stream one time, I brought up, when Season 9 came out, I thought that Ray would be more negative about it. So I was like, oh, it would actually be fun to be on the podcast and see where maybe Blubber would have to mediate between Ray and me.
I like how
we could disagree.
I like how when you saw Season 9's content, you thought, you know who's going to hate this? Oh, nobody tell him. Nobody tell him. Nobody show him that reveal.
I mean, it was my thought too as well. And I was also a little bit disappointed about it at the beginning. But it changed a little bit. But we'll talk about that. So are we ready to dive into Season 9?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm going to break the flow first and talk about something else.
You bastard.
I know, right? Because me and Ray, we love doing the podcast, but it is sadly costing us more than we earn. So if you want to help us out, you can do one of the two following things. And the first is to buy a podcast poster. They're beautiful. They're wonderfully designed. The link to that will be in the description, as well as you can use Super Thanks. That's also somewhere down below on YouTube. You can click that and donate whatever you want. Also, if you use Super Thanks, if you post a question, we will answer it in a future episode. So maybe that's some more incentive to do that. If you don't really care about it at all, we understand. But, at least leave a thumbs up or something like that. So, with that out of the way, we are ready to dive into Season 9. Season 9, like I said before, lots of quality of life additions, way too many to mention all in this podcast, so I'll just mention the ones that stick out, like a new chest type, a new skull that carries all the flames of fate, we have multiple new Pirate Legend voyages, we have better mech spawns, the world event has been balanced for all crew sizes, we have permanent beacons for bounties and Reaper chests, with new cosmetics attached to them, don't forget about that. We have bait crates, they increase the value for the hunter skull items. We have sellable tridents and much, much more. So before we go into detail, is this a good season? Are we pleased with Season 9?
I feel like that's a loaded question, isn't it? Is this a good season? Like, it's as if the script needed italics. The season. Playthru, what do you think? We'll go with you first.
Well, I've always, adventure is obviously what brought me into Sea of Thieves, and that's always the mode like I come back to, even when they would add new stuff like Siren Shrines or Treasuries, like things like that. In general, I'm just all about the core game mode. So not to say that those things weren't added and don't help. But basically, this is a long, rambling way of saying anything that improves the adventure experience is an update that I'm going to enjoy. Because, PvP Season 8 was one of the best seasons ever, if not the best season. Don't get me wrong, because I love my naval combat. But even that impacted adventure in interesting ways. And so it really felt like they got to build on that. Just from going from 8 to 9 feels like a kind of natural step. That being said, I also consider myself with Sea of Thieves like pretty easy to please. So what's a good season for me, I feel like with so many games coming out this year and so many live service games that are demanding people's attention, and seasons now being 16 weeks long, I really do think that a lot of players are probably going to hop in, try it for a couple weeks, few weeks, and then maybe be dissatisfied just because they're expecting some sort of big seismic shift in the game that it may not update. So that's kind of my take on it. Is for me personally, I think it's a fantastic season. It's one of my favorites. I love just that adventure feels fresh now. Like I go in and I don't really know the flow. Like I see I see a world event in the distance, and before I would just kind of know, okay, it takes this much time. If there's a galleon there, it'll go a little faster. But now actually it's like, oh, if there's a solo sloop there and they're competent, it could be done before the time I get there, that I'm going to be chasing them for loot or something. So I like that it feels fresh. That's kind of my thing. Personally, I think it's great, but I am a little bit concerned, I guess, with just how many people, if there's not going to be anything else added in it, yeah, I can see where that could push people away.
How do you feel about it, Ray?
I think Playthru hit the nail on the head there. So obviously I had to make a video before it came out and saying like, yeah, this is good, but it's tiny. And I think people really misconstrue, and I think the problem is you have a reveal bias, right? So when season 9 was revealed on that stream, everyone's like, oh yeah, this is going to be so good. And I guess my sort of content creator brain is going, yeah, this is good, but is it enough for 4 months? Because everything, I can't fault anything at all that's been added in season 9. I think it's a brilliant update, but we're only a week in, and that feeling's not worn off yet. But is that going to wear off in a month's time? And I think that's the case, especially when we don't have distractions like adventures to sort of look forward to either. As much as we sort of got on here and we, poked holes in the plot and stuff, at least there was always that new trailer to look forward to. There's always the potential of something big happening. You had the choices as well. And that's just evaporated, and we don't know when that's coming back. So yeah, great update. Not a good season.
I was literally trying to avoid saying that phrase because I've watched Ray's video and I agreed with it, and I was like, man, he nailed how to say that concisely. And I was like, I can't say that. I can't.
You're sat there thinking,
that burned it into my brain. I was like, okay, I'll say it in like 50 words.
You're like, I can't steal it. I know he's gonna say it. I can't steal it from
him. I'm like, I got that from him. Yeah, I can't steal it. I'll steal it from you in Pirate Game. I can't steal it from you in your content.
No, it's fine. And a lot of people did turn around and say, oh, stop complaining. Like, I think I always see the sort of complaining aspect as, yeah, sometimes I'm really nitpicky, of course, but I do think that toxic positivity can be equally as damaging. And, I'm not one to turn around and say, oh, this is shit. This is the shittest season ever, because that's not true. And that's not a way to phrase your feedback. But I'm also thinking about that, like I said, that other people do think like this, and when they do express that opinion on forums or on Reddit or Twitter, they get bombarded. And it's a bit easier to articulate by making a video about that and talking about it with tone and context. And a lot of people did agree, and I saw you comment on it as well, Playthru. And lots of people saying, yeah, I've been feeling I thought I was the only one. But yeah, sort of just to lock down the point is that if seasons are going to be longer, they need to be bigger. And we can't take our foot off the gas for 8 months of the year when 2023, I just had to check the year, COVID and all that shit. This is being a heavy hitter for games. We've got Resident Evil that just came out. So it's that heavy that I've just forgot, haven't I? What came out recently that was a big...
there's so much on the way.
Hogwarts Legacy came out recently, which was a big one. We've got Redfall.
And in May, you have Redfall in May. You have Tears of the Kingdom is dropping.
Yeah.
A new FromSoft game in the fall. Starfield. Yeah.
And that's without things like COD coming out. There's Dead Island coming out as well. There's Star Wars coming out. And this is pretty much the first half of the year apart from Starfield. And there's going to be so many more games coming out in the holiday season. So I think this is going
to say nothing of other live service games, right? Like Destiny just got a big expansion.
Yep.
Like other live service games are still continuing. Like I really don't envy Rare's position, as deving a live service game where it kind of reminds me of content creation like on steroids, where it's like, okay, you release the thing. The people who ingest it are like, what's next? Like they do it, they play it. Like, okay,
Yeah, I
So
think,
you did all this work. What's next?
yeah.
So what you're basically saying is that Rare needs to step up their game to compete with the other games that are coming out?
I don't think it's necessarily Rare's fault, because they are a small studio and they've got Flix and they've got what's the new one that just joined them? They used to work on Apex Legends. Someone help me out here.
Oh yeah, I can't remember. I know what you're talking about, but yeah.
They're helping out with the live service aspect, aren't they? But I think Microsoft need to realize that this is a very competitive space, and just because Sea of Thieves is on Game Pass doesn't mean it's going to sell gangbusters. The game's doing very well, don't get me wrong, but so are loads of other games that are free to play, and they get bigger content updates as well than Sea of Thieves.
Maybe. I don't see it necessarily as they need to compete, to be honest, because it's such an original game still. It just needs to make sure that it remains healthy, because you're not going to get... Yeah, there are other games, but they're not going to replace Sea of Thieves because the experience is so unique.
It's not so much the fact that there's no other game like Sea of Thieves, because that's factually true. There's nothing like it. The setting, the gameplay, etc. But when people's time is a commodity, people can only really play one live service game at a time properly because of how these games demands time from you. And Sea of Thieves is no different. So, you know, what someone going to play is someone going to play the new, let's say, Fortnite that drops with this massive creative mode, or Sea of Thieves that it's 3 months into a season and there's still a month left. There's nothing to do. Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, but I don't agree.
No, of course you don't have to agree. What's your overall view on it then?
Well, first of all, after Season 8, I really wanted a Quality of Life edition. I felt it was time. I was hoping we got some other stuff, like the UI changes, which we didn't get. But maybe we can talk about that later. And when we first had the list of, this is all going to be in season 9, I was like, all right, that's nice, but is it enough? And I was going into it expecting it would be my least favorite season. But when it all connected together and I saw how alive the game feels now, because it really feels alive, like there's always stuff happening, whether it's PvP or PvP, and that's thanks to all these updates. And then I was like, all right, so this game feels so alive again with just Quality of Life editions. And I'm enjoying it so much more, like I'm engaging with the content again. And it just feels different because it's so fun, so fast, and therefore so fun. So I'm really pleased with the season. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're fair in saying that, and I agree that the game does feel fundamentally quicker, and there's a lot. It respects your time more, definitely.
Yes.
My point is that we shouldn't have our 1 of 3 updates every year being harpoon changes or sword block fixing. These are the sort of things I expect in monthly patches, and we did see stuff like that in Season 8, like the supply changes and the barrels and the selling flags to one in battle to the mysterious stranger. Imagine if, let's say, they waited to Season 9 to add all that stuff, and it's just, you could put that in monthly batches, and
it feels just kind of like there's like kind of with Ray's whole, it's an excellent update, but not like kind of like a subpar season in terms of like, content release. I think that it is something like the new changes, like what you were saying, Blubber, about how alive the game feels, and it just feels faster, respects your time more. Those are things that are like gonna pay dividends in the long term in terms of like new player engagement, where new people, I feel like now, Sea of Thieves, if you're brand new to the game, you get Game Pass and you load it up in Season 9, like I feel like way more people will stick around just because of those things.
Yeah.
I think that's what's really cool about it. But in terms of like bringing back, and I think to be fair, like there's people like me who, and I think people like basically all of us who I am just playing Sea of Thieves more now, just because I love the update and the quality of life, because I just love the core game. But I do think that what I would like to see is almost like, I think one of my favorite seasons. At first, I was kind of like miffed about it when it happened, but I always get the number of this wrong. It was Season 6 was where they added Legend of the Veil and forts, right? It was
probably.
Yeah.
I think, right? It's like 7's captaincy. That was 6. I always want to say it's 5, but that's like Storage Crate update QOL. That's the other QOL season. But I guess like I really liked. I would almost hope, and maybe what we're still hoping for was that season 9 would be kind of more like one of those. Like, because I saw this and I was like, man, that involved everything you added involved a ton of play testing, and it's transforming the game. But I was kind of hoping like, oh, but like 8 weeks in, we're gonna get some new, more content update rather than like these quality of life shifts. And if I know nothing about game development, I'm completely ignorant about it. But it's like I think that seemed like a kind of good at first, but and it was like, oh well, Legend of Veil is coming and it's not there, and initially, you want the new stuff, but it was really fun having that midway through the season, and having it just a little bit more spread out. I don't know, with when your seasons 2 are now instead of quarters, they're thirds of the year.
Yeah,
that also feels kind of necessary. I'd like to I just like to see them go back to that.
yeah.
I loved when Legend of the Veil came out because it was Legend of the Veil and Shrouded Deep on the same day. So you didn't even have to wait for the continuation of the story. It was like, you've done Shrouded Deep, now you can just do Legend of the Veil. And that was one of the best sort of content drops in the last few years because of that. Even though Shrouded Deep went away, that was a really good experience. And then you were like, oh, let's go and do the next chapter of the story straight away. And it sort of felt a bit like... when they dropped the 9 Tall Tales in Anniversary, it was like, oh, we don't have to wait a month for this or several months to continue the story. It was just, it felt like that chapter was complete there, and we could sort of, it felt like a good closed ending for that sort of arc.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was, season 6 was good. It was only it's only seen as bad, I think, because it was so long, and that's not really season 6's fault, is it?
Exactly.
They did their job. It's like, yeah, we're done. Where are you, Captain C? We're waiting on you, mate.
So this another problem with this season maybe is that all these additions are really nice, but as a season as a whole, it's not really that memorable. Because we're gonna enjoy all these quality of life additions, but eventually we will forget when they were implemented. Is that something you guys feel as well?
Yeah, I think it maybe it'll be in the kind of similar to season 5 where
Exactly.
It almost reminds me of season 5 where like obviously I love Chest of Fortune just because of the way it now makes things contested. It's so fun having like world events be contested again. Like that's huge. By crews who aren't just like galleons or brigs. But it's it does kind of feel like it's going to be like season 5 where they added like buried treasure in season 5, which I completely forgot. Season 5 will always be storage crate draining, right? It's like season 5 is the storage crate update season. Whereas I feel like season 9 might actually like, I'll forget that it's Chest of Fortune maybe, and I'll just be like, oh, that was like the harpoons change season or something.
Okay.
I'll be like, oh, it's the QOL stuff.
Okay, because I think the other way around, that we will remember this season as the Chest of Fortune season and the Skull of Fate or Destiny season, and forget about the harpoon changes. Oh yeah, they needed to add that. They added whatever. It happened a long time ago. We're happy with it.
I'll answer with a question, right?
Do
you remember when they changed the inventory system for fruit and cannonballs?
Oh yeah, no.
No, you don't remember when they did that, do you? But it's still there.
No.
There we go. That's how I feel about it.
That's fair.
So how does this season compare to season 5 then? I think that's fair comparison.
Oh, it's definitely better, I think.
Yeah.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think with season 5 is like the storage crate was a good example because that had a function that really just made your life easier. And things like fireworks and sitting, they're pretty cool to look at. But when you add a button that you don't have, when you add a button in season 9 that stops you accidentally sitting down on places where you want to be interacting with, what does that say about the addition in season 5? The point is,
didn't they make an option not to sit anymore on your ship?
Yeah. This was added in season 9, wasn't it?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I haven't had a look in the menus yet.
But yeah, I think season 9's better, but just because of the quality of life is actually quality of life, and not we're adding this thing because it's cool and we don't have any content for the season.
Yeah, and it feels like everything like is interconnected, like kind of what Blubber mentioned that earlier, where it's like the more you play it, the more you're like, oh, like this system feeds into this, which drives this, and everything just feels like it's absolutely just driven to make the adventure mode feel more just faster, like, and more alive.
Mhm.
And there's kind of these cumulative effects of all these individual things, like oh, okay, it's easier to get Fort of the Damned. You have the Skull of Destiny voyage, but also it scales to your crew size. Also, Grey Marrow is easier, so it's a little faster. It's a little bit easier to stack, and Harpoon, so if you sink someone, you can get away with the loot like a bit quicker. Like, so there's more incentive to attack people. It's cool how these things all start like adding up to just driving player interaction and like contesting things.
Yeah.
Which is
Exactly.
really cool. Rezia 5 was like storage crate and the quest board for buried treasure. Also fireworks, and you're like, wait, like yeah, it's like Ray said, yeah, it's just kind of like a grab bag of new features.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like, it really feels like rebalanced. Like, man, they really overhauled the experience to make it. It almost felt like it was everything. I think they even said this probably in one of the dev diaries, where they're just like, they're going through all the seasons. They're like, man, I really wish we could do this, but we don't have time because we're making the new content. And then they like really had time to just like kind of make let's just do adventure mode 2.0.
Exactly. I think you can also see it in the Hunter's Call editions, that it all works together, because not only have you your increased value, but you can also sell more stuff there. Like the tridents are now sellable at the Hunters as well, and the bait crates, which you can buy at the merchants, but also sell at Hunter's Call. We have the edition of Adalric, which should have been way sooner, but whatever, he's there. And it all adds together, I think, as well, with the Hunters editions as well.
Don't forget the brand new bait radial.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, what about it?
The brand new bait radial that's been in the game since fishing came out.
I don't get it, because what's different about bait radial? It's the same, right?
Yeah, that's the joke. They put it in the trailer as if it was a new thing, but it's been in the game for years.
See, I thought I was dumb. Like, I didn't understand it. I was like, yeah, I get the food radial, which is new, which is also not the best update, but whatever. And they said a bait radial, but I didn't get it. Thanks for clearing that up, Ray.
I thought
is the idea that you could access the bait radial from? No, because I don't think you can. It literally didn't change, right?
No,
Am I crazy thinking it didn't change?
They put it in the trailer though, to say you can do this now, and everyone's like, I'm playing on Season 8's build right now, and I can do this already, so why is that in the trailer? I don't think it came out one anniversary. Oh no, it might have actually come out one anniversary did.
Are you guys happy with the fruit radial then? Because that one is new.
No,
me neither. Because you need to, I think you need to click 3 or 4 times to get the desired fruit. So it only works if you're carrying 4 different pieces of fruit, which almost never happens, because when you're in combat, you're either having your pineapples or your meat, which is just easier to cycle through your fruit than select your radial, especially when you're in PvP. So I know some people are probably really happy with the fruit radial, but that's one of the additions where like, yeah, did not really need that one.
If on controller you've got a few spare things to bind. I think you've got 3 buttons you can bind and get away with it, maybe 4. Yeah, and you can just cycle quicker using the food hotkey.
Yeah, I'm just clicking it. There's a pro tip, by the way. I got it on my right control stick. If you're on Xbox, it really helps during PvP having your food behind one button. But yeah, let me post something else, because we touched upon this before, and that's the year-old discussion about saving quality of life editions for the later half of the season, or just releasing them when they're finished. So how do you feel about that? Should developers save it for a season, or do they need to, give it to us as soon as it's done?
If a bug, especially like sword blocking, which has been on everyone's radar for like 2 years now, is your selling point for a season, you've definitely done something wrong. You shouldn't withhold that to say, oh, yeah, the season's really good. It fixed sword blocking. And you're like, why didn't you release this when this was done? Because I know they did partially fix it when they fixed silent boarding the first time, and it just evolved, obviously. And this time they've made it a lot more consistent. It's not perfect, but it's a lot more consistent. But yeah, it's like turning around and saying, oh yeah, we fixed hit reg and it's been ready for 6 months, but we need to save it for season 20 because we haven't got any content planned for that one. Especially as a game where people complain about the bugs in Sea of Thieves a lot. Definitely bug fixes need to come when they're ready, because we used to get patches every 2 weeks, sometimes every week, for bugs.
Yes, it's true.
And now I just get the feeling that if something breaks in a build, we have to wait a month for it to be fixed at the earliest. And that was the case with Captaincy. And that's a case with whatever bugs have come in this update as well.
Yeah, it has been a lot, sadly. Normally, I don't really mind the bugs and glitches in Sea of Thieves, but this season, it is really noticeable, and I do get a little annoyed at it. I don't know if you've experienced the same.
I have my ship saving cosmetic bug since I hadn't had a new ship in a while. That just came back this season, and I was so mad.
Same. That's a common one. Like ships, cosmetics don't save anymore, and I paid money for a new ship, saved all the cosmetics, and just doesn't save, which is a bit of a bummer, especially when it was fixed before. So it's a bit of a shame that a lot of those glitches return. But to come back to the other point, like saving quality of life additions for seasons, like it depends on what it is for me. And in this season, especially the max spawns and the Red Sea loot, to me that should have happened sooner. Because max spawns, they got out of the game because of Season 8 and other additions. And now we have all these max packs. And it feels great because you've done a world event and you're on your way to sell. And hey, there's a mech and it's great. You got some extra loot and you got some milestones. And you're like, wow, thank you, Season 9. But the only reason why we're happy about those mechs is because they took it away from us before. So I'm like, you should not really promote that as a season, because these mech spawns should have been implemented as soon as it was done. Same with the Red Sea loot. Like, how annoying is that? Like, I don't chase people anymore in the Red Sea, but a lot of other people do. And why wait with that for a season? Like, a Red Sea loot should have been here earlier. How do you guys feel about that?
I very much big agree. With the Red Sea, and the mags, my assumption was that, or I guess like I was just thinking, okay, maybe it's just literally just time constraints, or like they just don't have enough resources to devote to dev time for that, because with the live service model, you're just building the track in front of the train, right? Train's barreling ahead, and you're just like, wait, we have to build the new stuff and fix what we just broke with the last new stuff we released. And that never ends. So like I kind of get that, like, they released Season 8, everyone loved it, it's a banger, it took years of work, and now they can do all these things they wanted to fix. But the Red Sea thing, I know nothing about the game or game development, so I'm sure that it's there are development reasons why it took so long, but that really stung a little bit, just because that was such a contentious issue in the community. And it's funny because since I've made fun of Red Sea so many times that, like, people they assume it's like happened to me all the time, like oh, you're just salty because it's happened. It's like I've seen someone like try to Red Sea like once or twice, I don't even know, like I've even like fainted, like I'm gonna go to the Red Sea so someone stops chasing me so then I could resupply and then go after them. But then the thing that drove me nuts was just the thing that drove me nuts about it was just that it was I always viewed it as poor sportsmanship. It's against the spirit of the game. Like, if you lose the fight, that's fine. Like, just try to learn from it, and like, just go out fighting, or go out running for an hour. But like, just don't. Basically, it feels like you're flipping the game board over and being like, well, no one wins. And then the argument against it was always, or people who are pro Red Sea were always like, well, clearly it's developer intent because it's still in the game and hasn't been fixed. And then for Rare, 5 years into their game to like confidently be like, screw you, Red Sea guys. Like, I loved that moment, but I was also like why was that? Like, if you really felt like that was like hurting your game, man, couldn't you have like one guy working on that 4 years ago? like just to patch it out. Yeah, that one felt, for me personally, that just felt like, okay, like, yeah, don't necessarily do a victory lap 5 years into the game for something that players have been arguing about for developer intent. Like, I even just wish that Rare said, "Hey, it's not our intention. We're working on it." That one I have feelings about.
So that leads me on brilliantly, because through certain YouTube comments and Reddit arguments, I always have quotes and receipts for these Red Sea defenders, right?
Oh, lovely.
And
Let's hear it.
I'm going to read this one verbatim because
Nice.
It made me chuckle, because they don't say it, but I immediately knew, right? I immediately knew what they were on about. So to give context, this was on the Xbox Series X forum, and it was wishing Sea of Thieves a happy birthday, and a new player or prospective player said, "Oh, this game looks really good. How is it solo?" And someone turned around and obviously gave their very skewed opinion. And they said, game is better than ever, but it has incredibly steep grinds for minimal reward. That's probably fair. They've doubled down on the PvP aspect over the last few seasons, so if that's what you want, then that is great, but PvE has suffered for it. You do not want to be playing solo, though. The last one's probably fair enough for a new player.
Yeah.
So I just said, this is an incredibly skewed take. Season 8 actually directed most sweats into the PvP mode, where they will queue to fight each other. Season 9 just added a bunch of quality of life improvements, most of which aim to make solo play less tedious. World events scale with crew sizes, and the Harpoon allows you to load up loot quicker. Now is the best time ever to dip your toe into Sea of Thieves. This was the response. PvE was sidelined by the Adventures FOMO start before the PvP content was added. Possibly. Then multiple quality of life updates have been made to further reward PvP players and remove remove tools PvE players used to dissuade PvP players from being so aggressive. What do you think they mean by that?
Oh my god. There's one tool that I can think of.
Yeah, getting rid
quote
of
unquote.
And I said PvE content was added in every single update right up until Season 8. That's something like 25 plus named updates. PvP gets one update, and Season 9 stops people from running into the Red Sea, the equivalent of flipping the chessboard when losing, and suddenly the devs are pushing them away. And then he just came back with, making smaller PvE content that disappears after 2 weeks, instead of adding tool tails, is a clear walk away from PvE content, alongside pandering unnecessarily to the PvP whiners.
Wow.
Pandering to the whiners who haven't received an update in 4 years. Like, what is he talking about?
Just to summarize, and I just said, spoken like a true Red Sea runner, and they said, denial is a viable tactic. If the loot isn't mine until I sell it, then it isn't yours either. Red Sea was a good punish for over-hungry PvPers, same as scuttling to deny supplies.
Oh, wow.
Now the game rewards toxic players and removes any agency from PvE players, making them nothing more than farms for PvP players.
So can I just say something about that too? This is one of my favorite things, is that Red Sea runners, this is the psychology of Red Sea runners I've thought about a lot, which is just that they didn't, when I made like the Red Sea video like a year ago, I got denial as a tactic. Or when the chessboard example gets used a lot, and then people would say, I'm very much at the camp, you're flipping the game board over. Other people would be like, no, it's like forcing a stalemate. And I'm like, no, it's not. One, you can get the loot from the Red Sea. It's hard, but you could usually get it.
Yeah.
But then two, the other thing is that the Red Sea runners, their entire argument is built around this concept of moral punishment against players who are engaging in piracy in a pirate game. But also, more than that, though, it seems like the assumed argument is that they are presuming the like psychological state of the people who are chasing them.
Yeah.
A lot of times when I'm chasing someone, I have no idea what loot you have. I want to sink you. If you run into the Red Sea, okay, like I'm gonna laugh and like think, oh, that's pretty lame. I'll go back to playing Sea of Thieves. I played the game to hang out with my friends. My day isn't ruined because you did that. So I think it's absolutely psychotic to base your incentive structure when you're playing a game on like the assumed psychological state of other players. That is like absolutely bonkers to me. And anyone who I've talked to who's like pro Red Sea running, that's basically the foundation of their argument. I get satisfaction out of this imagined emotional state that I'm projecting onto someone who's chasing me in pirate game, is like what the actual argument is. Whereas like the argument for against it is like, hey, it's kind of bad sportsmanship, man. I mean, the other thing I think of is like, if you don't want to get rolled by a bigger ship, play on a bigger ship.
Yeah.
The game was built around galleons. Like, sorry, it's a co-op game. I don't see why anyone who plays solo in Sea of Thieves reminds me of like, you're booting up PUBG or Apex and you're like volunteering to do go into a solo into a team-based mode, right? Like I'm gonna play, in a match where most people have teams of 3, but I'm opting to do solo because I want a harder challenge. That's what you're doing. So yeah, I can't agree with you anymore, Ray. It's so good. I'm totally with you on that.
I think a lot of it sort of stems from a poor locus of control, where you sign up to play a game that looks like a pirate game known for stealing from other people, And it's everyone else's fault that they're better than you when the game's 5 years old and you've been playing for 5 years. That's
Mhm.
their fault. That's not your problem. And they should go easy on you because, or they should leave you alone, or they shouldn't attack you because you signed up and you just wanted to chill and sail around and get easy loot. It's not what the game's about. It's the same as if you're playing a game of Call of Duty and you're losing, you're getting your ass kicked by the enemy, so you DDoS the server. So no one wins. It's like, so, oh yeah, but you didn't beat me. I managed to DDoS the server. Like, I flipped the game board. It's exactly the same thing.
Yep.
But like you said, projecting someone's intent for playing a game, how it was designed, into demonizing them is just such a weird thought process.
Yeah.
Me and Blubber got sunk the other day because we picked on the wrong crew, right? And
Did we?
when we went to the Reaper's hideout with all our loot, and we thought we'd get an easy Reaper 5 flag, that sloop that had the ghost curse and the skeleton curse.
Yeah.
They were really good
beat us.
players.
Yeah.
We didn't begrudge them and go, go and make a Reddit post because they sunk us when we bit off more than we can chew. It happens to everyone.
Yeah.
But I just never been in the right mind to make a Reddit post about it or try and lie to someone else and dissuade them from trying a game because you suck at it.
And in a way, that's part of the fun, right? Because you never know the skill level of the other ship.
It's a sandbox game. Like, you never know what you're going to get with a session of Sea of Thieves, and that's why it's fresh every time. And the developers know that as well. And most community members understand that as well, and that's why they like the game.
Aye. Shall we bring it back to Season 9?
Yeah, just quickly. I just like how the developers turned around one day and thought, you know what? Fuck them Red Sea runners. I hate them.
Which was so validating. Because, like, clearly that's how they felt the entire time. Because as much as I feel it as a player, where I'm just like, that's bad sportsmanship, man, as a developer, I'd be like, man, screw those guys. Like, that's totally against the spirit of the game. And it's just, that was very satisfying.
We're happy with it. To be fair, though, running is a viable tactic. Like, I do believe that. So don't...
I want to make that clear. Yeah, like the other day, for instance, I was playing as a solo. Like Ray was saying, this happens to everybody. I was just like, I hopped on, I had an hour to play, whatever. I grinded some stuff. A brig starts chasing me. So what do? I run into the wind because I'm a solo and it's a sweaty looking brig. And I'm jumping off and I'm trying to board them and you do the usual. Go by the skeleton fortress, try to hit them with stationaries a few times. Do that. Finally, when I can't run anymore, I turn around and fight. And then they sink me. And then because I'm a solo and I'm not like a god tier solo player. And even if I was, all it takes is one rogue, one ball and I'm dead. But that's like what I signed up for when I did a solo session. So that I give them GGs and then we chat over a little bit and that's it. Yeah.
And you learn it over time to be a better solo player as well. But let's bring it back to Season 9. Let's talk about our favorite additions. What are our favorite additions in this season? And you can only choose one. And I can go first if you need some time to think about it.
Go for it.
So I had to think about this because at first I was thinking about the Hunter's Call editions because I like fishing. But then after playing it for over a week, I was like, no, the biggest addition is the World Event Balancing because it's faster, it is more fun. We had this discussion before, Ray, where it's like, the PvE it's just a health issue, right? They're bullet sponges, it's just time issue, it's not really skill-based. Over the years, there has been a little bit more skill involved. But overall, I do agree with you. It's more because they have a lot of health and it takes time to do the waves. Some people are not happy about it, but I am. I think it's way more fun, like FOTD, like we only have one color each wave. Some people don't like it. I think that's great because it removes the annoying parts of doing these events and just focuses on the fun. And more ships have more loot at all times. And it's good for both the PvE and the PvP, which is, at the soul of this game. So I think the World Event Balancing is the best addition in this season.
That's fair. I completely agree with that. Not that it's the best, the best addition. It's a
you
great
agree with
addition.
my assessment.
Yeah, I agree with your assessment. And something that I wasn't really too keen on when first learning about it, but after engaging with it in the actual organic world, it's so much more fun to do world events.
Aye.
It was, like you say, it was never hard for us. It's just time consuming. And now it's just taking something that was easy and making it less time consuming, not necessarily easier.
I agreed, and more time to get to the fun part, which is great. And in the beginning, you had these gold forts that only popped once every 3 hours, and it needed to be long because you needed to lure all the ships to that place and have a fight. But you don't need that now in current Sea of Thieves because when one world event ends, the next begins. So it doesn't need to be that anymore.
Yeah, I agree. Pleythru, what's your favorite?
I'm the same as Blubber. Yeah, the world event rebalancing, it makes the world feel more alive, and I just love seeing now, because I'm usually, I love, I grind PvE, like sure, and then then we'll go and defend our loot or go look for whatever. But I also just love rolling on people who are doing world events, and now I just like the fact that when I see a world event and a sloop is there, I don't look at it and be like, oh well, this is going to take an hour for them to finish it. In fact, it might just take them faster. They might just, if they're competent, they might finish it really quickly. And because of the harpoon change, they can get away just a little bit faster. But the core length of the engagement, like you said it perfectly, Blubber, it's just we can get to the fun part faster. And I think that's just like the chase, or it's the end when you're like, I'm on the last wave and there's a ship on the horizon. Do I open the fort or do I not? It's that whole like, it basically it's sped up that, and you get to that point. And I just like that more players are doing world events, so there's more. That was my big thing too. Like I think we're all the same mindset of when everyone saw it, they're like, oh, it's gonna be so easy now, and I'm just like, it just means that all ships will have more loot at all times. That's literally what it means. Like it's no easier to sail your ship after you finish the world event. And I saw some people. I was talking to some people where they were like, they thought that the harpoon change they really didn't like it because it's taking out some of the teamwork or whatever. And I was like, that's just such a tedious version of teamwork where it's like there's always something to be doing. So now it's just like instead of one person standing next to the harpoon, they're just prepping something else.
Yeah, more time for fishing.
Exactly, more time for fishing. They're standing on the back of the ship getting their fishing in.
Yeah.
Or it's just, and as a solo, like I experienced it the first time I played it, just never mind. I can't. That's harpoon change. But harpoon change is great. But yeah, world event rebalancing, that's it. Everything you said.
What's yours, Ray? Your favorite edition in the season?
The Chest of Fortune.
Okay. Talk about it.
Basically, because it's something that I straight up asked for a few months ago. In not so many words, I had a little bit of a rant on how great the world events were and Old Man Ray and how much he used to love them. Essentially, this was a small concept for what could be a new world event / old one that was more so, let's say, focused and the sort of big raid world event that people want to go for, like a Fort of Fortune on steroids, but it was into time of the story, blah, blah, blah. That's not important, but essentially, so instead of necessarily turning in a chest for completing the world event, you'd get commendations, and these would be time-gated with the season. So you couldn't complete them, like, you can get all the rewards in one season, like, it would be grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 from season 1, 2, 3, and 4, etc. Just so it kept the world event alive, and not necessarily turning in the loot because obviously it can be stolen. But it was more so that people could work together to complete it to get commendation progress, or they could do it themselves, etc. And that was sort of what they did with the commendations with the Chest of Fortune. So instead of people blitzing out in one season now, we're going to have world events looking very healthy for the next several years, let's say, depending on how long it takes for them to finish that cosmetic set.
Yeah. It's great to have the older Sea Dogs engage with the content again, because they want a new commendation, they want the Chest of Fortune. People are fighting for it, so it's good for the PvP. But overall, and I told you this before, it felt a bit artificial to me, because it's clearly like we do all the additions in this one season and we save it all for that, but we need something else. Oh, why not make a new loot type commendations? Let's slap it on there. It feels a bit too quickly decided to add it, if you get my meaning.
I think if they just left it at this new thing that you turn in this season and then world events will be dead again, I would agree, but it seems more deliberate to keep this content rolling over and evergreen. But they need to make sure when they finish that Fates of Fortune ship set and weapons and clothing, what have you, because we've already seen the belt, they need to add another set to keep that ball rolling.
Yeah, that's a good point, because that's the most interesting part about the Chest of Fortune, that you will keep unlocking cosmetics with each season, and each season it will be a new world event. I do agree. That's a great aspect of this new loot type. Yeah.
I just think this game would be very much improved upon in terms of making evergreen content if a lot of it didn't have a shelf life. So like Season 4, for example, instead of adding that recent Bristling Barnacle set for the Hoarder of Barnacle Gold commendation that a lot of people already have, and you can unlock it straight away, add just a new commendation for old content to make people go back like, at least for a season.
Yeah.
Because I think Rare really do struggle, and the Emporium certainly doesn't help with adding meaningful rewards for players. I think Season 8's a really good example of this. Sorry to go on a rant, but I'll be quick. But a lot of people are giving up on the Hourglass because 1 to 100 is basically no rewards. It's a reskinned figurehead that you upgrade, which is a cool concept.
Yeah.
And you get the cool titles, but 1 to 100 is a good sort of 50, 60 hours without losing, or sort of on a sort of, general sort of win rate. And then once you get those rewards, it's 1 to 200 if you're Athena in the commendations, and same with the skeletons. And then you don't get a reward for 800 levels? And that's just, that's a skin and a title. And then after that, you've got, 9,000 levels, something like that? Is 9999 to get the last title?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
And they did say they were going to add skeleton cosmetics, but that's not going to happen for a while, is it? But they need to plump up those rewards from 1 to 100 for newer players to incentivize them to stick with it, and add new rewards for after 200, because there's not enough now to keep that content evergreen, even though it's such a good system. So yeah, I think a lot of their problems can be solved if they maybe got the Emporium team back into the clothing team or cosmetics team.
Nah, they'll never do that.
Well, we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. Yeah, that's true.
But I will say, splitting up the costumes as much as they can is quite a good idea. As much as it's not new items, it's still cool to be able to mix and match those emissary costumes now.
Yes.
Anything to add to that playthrough, to the Chest of Fortune?
Basically just I'm just with what Ray said. It's just the fact that it's rolling, and that it's going to shift through world events is key. And I think that the only thing I'll say is that I want to go against some naysaying that I've been seeing, which is that I think it's funny that sometimes people are like, oh, well, basically, if you're hyped on the season and you think the Chest of Fortune is a good concept, in order for, bringing back, like Ray said, like old Sea Dogs are back in adventure now because they have something to grind for. And then I saw some people being like a common thing that gets thrown against Chest of Fortune, I guess, which is sort of valid in my mind, but is that oh well, people are only going to engage with it until they get the commendation, and they're going to stop. But then in my mind, I'm like, Athena steals have been happening for 5 years, so I'm just like, Chest of Fortune, they already did the thing which is necessary, where it has a good incentive structure by having it rolled out per season. I think that was like absolutely necessary. I do just think what even bolsters it in my mind is just by making it, the second most valuable loot item in the game, basically the most valuable loot item, because, what is it, Wondrous Box of Secrets is like, I don't think that really counts. That is just gonna drive a lot of like contesting, because you're just gonna know, oh, it's both the rarest and the most valuable thing on the server. So
right. It's just fun to steal.
Yeah, it's just even after you get the commendation, I don't know, if you're sailing around and you're looking for a target, for Fortune sound goes off. Okay, yeah, you're probably going to go there or whatever. So, but I think having it rotate in commendations, and I completely agree with Ray, where it's like, that being said, like, to keep it really fresh and to keep it as contested as it is now, like, it's absolutely going to be necessary to just keep adding, just to make that basically for the rest of the game. If you want to have that contested, add more sets like per season.
Where do we want it to be next season?
Ooh, that's a good question. I guess I would just probably prefer one of the naval ones just to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Molten Sands. I
was going to say, yeah. I'm surprised Molten Sands didn't get touched up, but I reckon they're going to put it in Molten Sands Fortress next season.
You need to cycle through 20 other world events before it spawns there.
Oh, no, the other day. we had Molten Sands up for nearly 3 hours the other day.
For some reason. For some
strange reason. And as soon as a Fort of Fortune pops after we clear it, because...
But it didn't. We after that a fort spawned, I think, and we did that, and after that another fort spawned. We didn't even get a fourth after that.
No. This was when we were on the brig, because our alliance was doing Fort the Damned.
I'm talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, but we went to get the chests back for them. Remember, Fort
Yeah, of course.
spawned, and it despawned within 30 minutes. The galleon was going to go complete it, weren't they?
That's true.
They stopped. Because
you're right.
They stopped to cash in the Reaper chest.
We did 5 world events just for it to spawn, and we couldn't do it because we were trying to get the loot back from our alliance.
Yeah, and we sailed all the way to Molten Sands. Me and Blubber shot off to do the world event. Our alliance got sunk, and 5 Fort of the Damned or whatever were being stolen by this sloop. So we went back to try and steal it, and I stayed on Molten Sands to finish it, just so we could get to the next world event. And lo and behold, when we're trying to fight this sloop and a galleon for the Reaper chest and the Fort of the Damned loot, the Fort of Fortune spawned and despawned within 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But bloody fucking, what's it called? Molten Sands was up for 3 hours because we didn't want to do it.
Aye. To be fair, that's a good addition about Season 9 as well, because the world events are so quickly, you don't really hop anymore for servers to get that chest of fortune. Well, you can if you want, but moreover, you're like, oh no, we can do some world events because they're quick and we have all these supplies and it's just fun, which I think is also a good thing for the game, but not when it takes 5 world events for it to spawn, like it happened with us, but whatever. But yeah, that's the Chest of Fortune. Another big addition, quote unquote big addition, is a Skull of Destiny, which contains all the Flames of Fate. You buy a voyage, you get a Wayfinder compass, only 1 island, and you have the skull. And you can start the entire Fort of the Damned. So how do we feel about the Skull of Destiny?
It takes the worst part of the Fort of the Damned out, which is starting the bloody thing and getting the pink flame.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
That's it, yeah. And the fact that it makes it so much easier to stack.
All right. And it's only for Pirate Legends, right?
Yes.
Which is great. More stuff exclusive for Pirate Legends, and I'm always for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, next one. The bounties and the Reaper's chest, they now have these beacons that don't go away, which is another addition that seems small, but it's so big because you don't need to look at the map. You can always see the beacon. It's more contested because there are accommodations again for it, and also rewards attached to that, cosmetic rewards. So again, I've basically told everything there is to say about it, but still, are we happy with it? Are we happy with this change?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Anything to add to it?
Sort of partially. They did say they'd sort the shipwrecks out to stop spawning so far out to sea. And it doesn't work all of the time. It's about a third of the time they will spawn out near the Red Sea still. But that is to do with the Reaper's chest because they want people to go after them more, don't they?
Yep.
But that's all I had to add. But yeah, I like the new Reaper chest changes.
All right. And we also have the harpoon, but we also talked about that. I think we're all happy with the harpoon change. Any addition you guys feel we should talk about before we go to the next topic?
Right, I'm going to have to say it because it's been staring me in the face, and I think Blubber's going to like this one, right? The Fate of Fortune set is made for turning in the Chest of Fortune and the Reaper's chests, right? And the Reaper's chests, the rewards are obviously coming from the Servant of the Flame because that's the only way you can turn them in, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Right, so did they just collaborate with each other and say, right, you can have the ship set, we'll do the weapons, it has to be matchy because we don't have the budget to make 2 bespoke ship sets here. In the case of the latter, they should have been Reaper cosmetics.
Yeah. So I'm sure you know my theory because they're themed after sea serpents, and if there's one new AI threat I wanted to see, it's a sea serpent. And it's also a 3-headed sea serpent, and a 3-headed monster was hinted about in the last adventure. So do we think they are planning on making another AI threat, but they had to postpone it and only had the cosmetics ready, so now those cosmetics became the reward for these chests? How do you feel about that?
No, I don't think that's the case.
I don't either, to be honest. I feel like with all the work, and I don't know much about. I never like am up to date on like this was hinted and this and that. So like I often feel like I don't have anything intelligent to contribute. But I just usually just think of it as dev time, and I'm like, that would take a lot of dev time for not a lot of payoff. Like it would be cool if there was unlimited resources. I would love to see more things like that. But given limited resources, I'm like I could see that being like season 10. What do we got? We got to do Sea Serpent and some quality of life stuff that we sat on. Like for season, that would be like that would be kind of a bummer. Like just because I don't know. I feel like that would take a tremendous amount of like animating, sound design, then fitting it in with the rest of the world and all the things. So for that reason alone, I would guess that it's probably not in the works immediately.
I feel like if that was the case and it needed to be part of that sort of new AI threat, I think they would shuffle something around and put something else in place there.
All right. So just to conclude, you guys think these cosmetics were made for these chests and a Sea Serpent is not coming?
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be my stance. Yeah.
All right. Disappointing.
I also,
all right.
I also don't think the cosmetics were made for the chests, to be honest with you. But I think they were made for something else. And like the Legend of the Veil cosmetics, they were sort of pushed last minute to fill a gap.
Okay, it's something else, but not an AI threat.
Not an AI threat. I think they just had it planned for something else. Maybe a new voyage or something.
Okay. Well, I still got my back legs crossed for a Sea Serpent. Any other addition that we are happy about in Season 9?
The cursed legendary Bone Hunter jacket.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, the Season Pass, which can be completed in a day.
Oh, it took me a week because they patched it before I finished it, so...
Okay. It took me 2 days, I think, to get to 100.
Wait, what did they patch that changed it? I didn't hear about that.
So Renown was boosted, and Sovereigns give you more boosted Renown because I think it gives you double because you're selling it to the Sovereign and the trading company.
Ah.
Because Reapers
that explains it.
Reapers gave hardly anything for selling.
That explains a lot because yesterday that actually happened to me yesterday where I played for like in the first 2 days of the season and I got to 85 in the pass. And then yesterday we sold 4 world events and 7 for the dams. And I think I was at like 97 and I was like, what the hell? Like I was selling at Reapers. I was like, how? Like
they still patched it, yeah.
I see.
But if you did maybe 5 world events and sold it all to the Sovereigns with Emissary, you probably would have finished the pass on day 1.
Sounds about right.
Probably, yeah.
I think that's about the rate, yeah.
All right, let's go to the next topic now. And this is actually really exciting because I want to know what other quality of life improvements we would like to have.
Pleythru, let's start with you.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh yes.
Oh no.
Oh yes.
I don't think I have it.
I'm guessing a free floating camera.
Yeah, I mean that's something that I know will never happen. So and that's the thing is like that would be a quality of my life improvement, but I don't think that would be just like a feature update. Would just be like, hey, can we just get a free cam time of day? All those, but that's yeah, I don't see that happening. You'll have to come back to me. I'm so enamored with season 9 that it's done a lot that I wanted to happen. And I almost need to it sounds silly, but I feel like I almost want to learn the flow of adventure again, and then I feel like I'll have more notes for quality of life. But I guess there's no, come back to me. I'll think about it.
All right, fair enough. We had some time to think about it because we knew the topic from before. Something that struck out as weird to me is that there's no UI changes. It's something I really want. Like the daily deeds and the events, it still takes too many clicks to get there. It's still weird that when you press start on Xbox, that the first page is your resources. Because I don't want to see my resources. Why do I need to see my resources? And I get it. For some people, it's really handy. But at least make the option there for players like me that don't really want to see their resources. So a UI change was definitely high in my list.
Okay, well, you just reactivated the part of my brain that had brainstormed the thing that
I was hoping for that.
This is a thing that I've complained about for so. I'm like, oh, the part that I've whinged about for so long has reawoken. It's just doubling down on your UI changes. Something that I think is just this isn't like a hot take. I think this is pretty standard. But I'm just like, for the love of God, Rare, I know game dev is hard, but can we please communicate in-game events in the game?
Yeah.
That drives me absolutely insane. That like
Mhm.
you have to follow Twitter, and then the information is on a link on Twitter that leads you to news.xbox.com, and that's how you learn about what the event is. And granted, like they're doing their best in their social channels with YouTube and Twitter, but a lot of times the information is spread out across like 2 YouTube videos from them, and then they'll have a tweet that has slightly different information, and then the news.xbox.com has everything, and then the website has it. And I'm just like, I know that it would be a clunky way to do it, and I know that I know nothing about game development, so I'm sure it's like anything, it's just way harder to do. But I would even just settle for, we added the UI change of when you vote on the emissary flag, like, hey dipshit, you're a target. Like that basically that message is in the game now. like which is great, but it's like I kind of want something, even something in the spirit of that. I'm generally against like a UI change like that because it's less immersive, whatever. But like at the end of the day, I just want people to join, and it just says little message, even if it's where the renown is. Hey, enjoy an increased multiplier. It's this happening.
Mhm.
Go and talk to this guy and do this like in the game. And I know that what I love is when I made a video about this like 3 years ago, or no, 2 years ago, and then someone was like, they said, well, it is in the game. It's in the events tab, and I'm like, okay, so it's like. What did I don't even know how many clicks that is. Is it like 6?
Yeah, 5 or 6. That seems about right. Yeah.
It's like start, tab, events, and like that's something that I'm like, if you want people to engage with the game, it should just be communicated in game. Like even if it was just a little message that pops up a week before, hey, 7 days, this is happening, because you're playing the game and you're not like clued in. Yeah, that's all. That would be one of my biggest QOL changes, which was basically just a UI update.
And to add even further, I would also like it if we could see when Gold Rush is starting, like with a counter, when it counts down. That would be really nice. And also saving, or because with milestones, we can pin milestones. I want to pin my accommodations as well, the ones I'm working on. I think that would also be really helpful.
Yeah, with Gold Rush too, I've thought about like a even something as simple as just a sound, like the Fort of Fortune, or like the Kraken at 3 a.m. It's like even if it was just an indicator, hey, remember, like, especially because since we haven't gotten rid of daylight savings time in the US, like when it shifts, I like miss Gold Rush because I'm so used to it. And that's just because we're messing with our time. But yeah, if it was just in the game and it was like, ding dong, oh, okay, I should sell now.
Anything you want to add to that, Ray?
What's the biggest quality of life up? Like, what's the biggest bug that people complain about daily about this game?
Not enough
hit reg.
Well, that's not a bug. That's a feature.
Oh, sorry.
Well, no, Playthru's right. It's hit reg, and in the big quality of life season, not been touched. And I know it's hard.
It's not because it's not fixed yet. Like you can't put it in the game. It's not fixed.
Yeah,
so.
True. No, saving that for season 20. It gets fixed tomorrow. Season 20 is fixed. No, in all seriousness, just one thing that I would really love fixed that's actually probably in the realms of fixing is the supply crate bug from the merchants, where you buy it from them and they don't give it up to you.
Oh yeah, that's just because they don't like you.
It's only it's only been in the game for 2 years,
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's annoying when that happens. Just like you feel stolen in a pirate game. That's it's fine if you steal my loot, but if you don't give me a crate, I feel cheated out.
Well, when people say, "Why do you like the Reaper's Bones?" Never stole a crate from me. I tell you that much.
That's true.
I have some more, by the way, some more quality of life additions. Something that I was surprised about that wasn't in Season 9 was the clothing presets, because Mike Chapman said it on record on a podcast, and he said it in one of their own latest podcast episode, he reconfirmed that, clothing presets are coming. They're just not coming in Season 9. So how do we feel about that? Did we expect it? Do we still want it?
I sort of expected that. It feels like Season 9 is a 2-week knock-up season with stuff they've held back just in case, and guilds was confirmed, or sorry, let's say social options, not like they confirmed it in those teasers or anything, but the social options for season 9 were delayed, which was confirmed in that podcast. So it feels like that season 9 was delayed to season 10, or it could be even longer. We don't know. And this was sort of knocked up. So I guess maybe they were planned to be in season 9, but they got delayed with the main content, if that makes sense.
So if you were to bet on it, you'd say it's still coming in season 10.
I would like to think so, but knowing how Rare is with these sort of engineering things, like how Captaincy was, it probably will be season 11.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it could be October.
That's a bit disappointing because he said it, and I just want it now.
He did say on the podcast as well that was a more technical undertaking than they were expecting.
Yeah,
so
that's fair enough.
Which is fair.
And the best takeaway is still it's coming. We just need to wait a little bit.
Yeah.
And in extension to that, I would also like to have presets for ships. Like, I like, in a way we do have it because we can save our cosmetics when it's working. But it will also be nice just to click on, all right, I have this set, like Admiral set. I just want everything Admiral equipped right now. If I have the furniture and the ship cosmetics, I want it with one click. I want everything of that set. And I would like that as well for the ships.
Fair enough.
And to add to that, another quality of life addition I would like is saving Flames of Fate to your ship. Because in a way, it's also decoration. If you have a green ship and you want green flames with it, and you want to start with green flames, I'm like, why not have the Flames of Fate save as well?
Yeah, maybe they could have it so you could only save one as to not... Or maybe it's a color thing and not a function thing.
I don't care. I really don't care. I think it's fair if you sink, like you can save, but if you sink, you lose it. I think that's fair enough. And also, we now have that skull as well, the Skull of Destiny. So if you really want all the flames, you can just buy that voyage. So
true,
it's already easy enough.
True, fair enough.
Yeah, you feel the same about that playthrough?
Yeah, I think that'd be cool, and it makes sense. It's tracking, like, it's saving. If it does track that, it would just save stuff from your last session, right? Like the circles on my map are saved. If the damage on my ship is saved, then why not? And I think the only other thing I would add was just I don't really have any idea for it, but just some form of like seasonal pass prestiging. Just so, like, because I really like that you don't have to treat Sea of Thieves like a second job to like get through the pass like you do with most live service games. I think that's a really good decision on Rare's part. But when it is done, even if it wasn't bugged, you're still pretty much finishing it in a week if you like play a lot. And so just some sort of prestiging, even because I just think of Rare from a social option as well, or from the social angle rather. That would just be a fun thing. Like, it's the end of the season. What level did you reach? And it's like, oh, I was 780. And like, even if you're not getting a ton of stuff, like there is just, I don't know. I'm like a little like dopamine gremlin. Like I like seeing the things go up. So it's just like, it's like why I like Captaincy, right? It's like I see the numbers go up. That's great. So even if it was just a little gold or a couple doubloons, like, why not? It's just a fun. It also just adds one other layer of like fun bragging rights that resets at the end of a season. And...
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And we actually pointed this question to Mike Chapman as well. And he said they're looking into it to make it a bit more viable, to have it last longer. But he didn't give any specifics, so we don't really know what they're planning.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, just having unlimited levels, and every 10 levels you get, I don't know, a couple thousand golds, that would be fine for players like me.
Yeah.
All right, so I have one more quality of life. It's not really quality of life edition, but it's something that annoys me, and that's those portals at every outpost. Like a lot of stuff I'm getting used to, like things that I'm not happy at first, I eventually get used to. But these portals, they remain ugly. I just want them to have them look different. Like maybe have a portal built with ships in the wilds, where ships crash to each other, and there's a hole you can go through. And in the Ancient Isles, there's some paintings on those rocks as well, because that's the Ancient Isles. There's a lot of rock paintings there. So don't necessarily remove them, but make them feel less copy paste.
I like that.
Of course, it's a great idea.
I just wish the portals were gone. They're a blight on the landscape.
Yeah, you don't really need those rocks, to be fair. Like, you can just have the portal appear, like the giants appear with the Ghost Fleet World event. They're not coming from rocks; they just appear out of nowhere.
I don't know what you've been watching, mate, but I don't think they look like that.
It's a slit.
Just stop. Just move on. We're not discussing this. Especially using that word. That's just no.
Okay, all right.
Horrendous way to describe it, mate.
Okay, I'm not cutting in that. So, all right. So those are my quality of life additions. Anything you guys want to add to that?
No, I'm happy with that.
All right, great. So let's go to the Messages in the Bottle, a segment of the podcast where all listeners can send in their own questions and we answer them. If you want to send your own questions, you can join the Salty Hippo Discord. Link for that will be in the YouTube description. So the first question comes from Regis Stella. So, Season 9 is 16 weeks long. Your thoughts, AShinyRay, as someone who wants 3-month-long seasons? So this one is aimed at you, Ray. 16 weeks.
Is it really?
How do you feel about it? Long seasons, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I just don't. I think 4 months is too long for a season. At least drop the season name, because I think there's only I think there's 4 seasons a year, isn't there? As last I checked. Unless you live in the UK, then it's maybe 1, but just a rainy season. Yeah, I think 4 months is too long for a season, and especially with Adventures MIA. And when you think about it, right, say season 8 came out in November, and then we wait 4 months for Quality of Life update, which is by and large a small season, as we've discussed on the podcast, and then we'll wait another 4 months for a new season and a new season pass, and Rare hasn't changed the season pass to be better to compensate for this. Or added like an infinite tier at the end, so yeah, it just feels like the adventure team is doing their own thing, and they just don't have the manpower now to put out 3 seasons a year, which is confusing as well when they said that after Season 7's delay, they were going to plan on having a short season, which is what they should have done, but they didn't. And they said, oh yeah, seasons are back on track now, and then you get to this season and it's 4 months again, and it's like, yeah, this is far too long. So yeah, that's how I feel on it.
Do you feel similarly, Pleythru?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just back what I said before would still kind of apply here, where if you're going to have 3-month-long seasons, I mean, granted, if you're going to have 3-month-long, like quarterly or like thirdly, I suppose, seasons, then I still think that there should be just that. I would be totally fine with them at least doing a sort of season 6 thing. So have something like midway through the season. Hey, here's this other thing that's coming. So that way you have enough that you're satisfied when it launches. You have the plunder pass, you have new features. Then halfway through, especially if it's going to be 16 weeks, that would kind of make it so it's like 2 months from now, okay, you get another thing. Then 2 months from then, it's a brand new full season. I think that release schedule really worked for Destiny when they pivoted to that, and then Rare, maybe, I don't know if they noticed it or if it just happened with Season 6, but that just I think that just becomes even more necessary if you're going to have longer seasons.
Yeah,
it's
a good one.
It's just the whole idea with seasons is to have regular content expected, and that the updates were meant to be bigger than the monthly updates. But I think Season 9 is more akin to a sort of Haunted Shores update, which is monthly, and slapping a season pass on it doesn't remedy that. And like I said, I think in a month's time, when everything's said and done and there's no adventures, I think the mystery will probably be out then. They did say after anniversary, didn't they? Is this game going to really suffer for the player base? And I think that is going to be the case.
Because there's less new content to draw in new players?
Yeah, and it's marketing as well. So, there's not the adventure trailers to hype people up. There's not the adventures to get people to log on for 2 hours. There's not this anticipation of where's the story going next. There's not this fight for Lost Sands. There's none of that. And it's just, I don't want to say just, but for the core players who sort of hop on and they prop the game up, not the revolving door of new players. Maybe the new players will stay, but we'll see. Yeah, I just think it's really weird that this is an entire third of the year.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I definitely see where you guys are coming from. From a personal experience, I'm less bummed out about it, since I always have fun when I play Sea of Thieves.
Oh, don't get me wrong, I'm never bored of this game, but just Rare just have this problem with velocity of content, and they've always had this issue. After the anniversary, they sort of just changed their approach, and they just have off seasons, and it just feels especially weird at the moment after the massive delays of last year, and we're going into sort of 2023 looking hopeful. And what, if you compare to 2022 when we had that that sort of preview of the year where we're getting season 6 and we've got adventures to look forward to, and it felt very hopeful, whereas this time the first major content update is it's a quality of life season. Everyone agrees it's quite small, and it just leaves you in a bit of uncertainty, and that's my feeling on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but still, to defend this season, like you can say it's small, but I feel it does change the game in a big way to make it exciting for a long time. How long it is, I don't know, but I'm still really excited about all the additions.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I think it's like the ways kind of we talked about earlier, the ways it changes it. I think it's one of the most important seasons that will like help the game in terms of like player health and like interaction, like going forward. I think it's going to have like a big payoff for Rare, similar to season 8, if they especially if they add like more cosmetics and incentives to levels 1 to 100, like Ray was talking about. But it is kind of like, if you're from the outside looking in, it's weird. It's there's never been a better time to play Sea of Thieves, and I kind of just feel that way with every season. Like I'm just like, okay, it's a live service game. Like unless they really mess it up, it's just never a better time to do it. But this time, for real, if you want to start playing Sea of Thieves, it really is like almost incomparable to like how good of the state the game is in right now for all new players alike. But unfortunately, with a quality of life rebalancing season, there's none of those like from a new player perspective, or even from I played the game a year ago and I'm coming back. There's not really like a big headline feature. Like season 8, it's like you haven't played Sea of Thieves, now there's on-demand PvP. Like that's all you need to know about it. You can do nothing else, and you're gonna come back. For season 9, like there's world event rebalancing. You'd be like, I'm gonna go play Destiny or something. You know what I mean? Like
I get it.
There's that lack of a headline feature. So and then similar to what Ray said and what you said, Blubber, like I think all three of us are people where it's like, look, I can analyze, like I obviously have feelings about the seasons, but more of it stems from wanting the game to just be healthy so it does well, so it continues to grow, etc. But I'm so easy to please with Sea of Thieves because I stand by this. Like this is how I explained it to people who wanted to play in year 1, where I was just like, look, if you don't like the core game loop, I don't think you'll ever enjoy the game. I don't care what Rare adds. Like the core game loop is so solid, and like it's so around driving player interaction. And some people just aren't into that. Like they just don't like the kind of like peaks and valleys that Sea of Thieves can offer. And granted, sure, obviously it's improved tremendously, especially with season 9 and over the years. Like obviously the game is almost like it's in such a better place. But I still kind of stand by my assessment where it's like look, at the end of the day, you either like love the core game loop or you don't. Because you said it earlier, there's no other game like it, and I think that's gonna hook the people who it really hooks. But I really feel like there's Sea of Thieves kind of, which I like. It's like my favorite movies, or I think the best movies and TV shows. Like I really can't imagine someone being lukewarm on this game. I don't know if that's how it is for you guys, but like they play it and they're like, it's okay. I feel like people are either gonna like really be into it, or they're gonna just it's not gonna click. And so yeah, I'm very easily satisfied because I love the game. So but yeah, I can see it from the outside in, where from a marketing standpoint, it's like, yeah, you're a new player. Like, well, what do they add? Oh, they kind of just like made everything better. They're like, oh, okay. Like, yeah.
That's a good point. Let's expand on that with Jar's question, actually. He says, Yark, he's also in your Discord. That's true.
Yeah.
He will be really happy that you're on again. Anyways, his question is this. So the last few seasons have been updates that sort of laid a foundation for future content. For example, captaincy milestones or the new commendations in Season 9. While this is great in the long run, I think it's too sparse for the next 4 months. So, do you think there is a possibility of a mid-season update similar to Legend of the Veil that will revive the game halfway through Season 9, possibly related to the Golden Sands completion?
No.
I also don't think so. It would be great, Jark, and I think we would all love it, but I don't think it's in the cards.
Yeah, would love it, but yeah, I don't see it happening.
And it's a little bit weird too, because when they did it for Legend of the Veil, I said it in my review, and I'm sure the developers know the response from the community because everybody was happy to have something else in a season as well. But they never did it again. So do we think they will ever do it again, or was that just a one-time thing?
I think it was just a bit experimental in how they were going to overlap the adventures of the content. And actually, that reminds me, didn't Mike say that the adventures were going to be more intertwined with the seasonal content? And that just hasn't materialized at all.
Yeah, he's a liar, isn't he?
You just fucking liar. Yeah, it goes back to all this sort of idea that I think 2021 was a really good year for Sea of Thieves in terms of what we got. We had Pirates Life, we had Season 4. 1 and 2 seasons were all right. They were sort of like this sort of style. 2022 had Season 6 with Legend of the Veil, which was huge. It's the best voyage they've ever added.
Mm-hmm.
We had Captaincy, which was buggy, but it did the job, and some people really like Milestones. And then Season 8 is the best season by far. And it just feels like there's just nothing really going on at the moment. And to sort of link it back to Jack's question, that sort of temple tease at the end of the last adventure feels like it could have been a voyage for this mid-season, but I just don't think that's going to be a thing for a very long time now.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Well, that's also really good because that leans into the next question, which comes from Ilwalsh. What are your thoughts on the lack of sign of adventures in the near future? Do you think the game really needs them to thrive or not?
Pleythru, what do you think?
Sorry, is the lack of what for the adventures?
Adventures.
Lack of sign, like they're quiet about the adventures. Yeah.
I think that they were great for I mean, it just goes into exactly what we're talking about, right? So it's like adventures are great because even for me, we're like I'm just not a lore guy. Like I'm so bad with the lore, but like I would still do the adventures. It was fun just having a new set of mechanics. Like the cinematics were so cool that they would release. Like even me not being interested in the lore, I would like get interested because they did such a good job with them.
They're stopping with them, right?
I do, yeah. Because I was saying all year, I would show it. My fiance she's worked in game trailer editing. She works in basically games video production. She's done that for about a decade, and it's like when Rare was releasing it, and granted, I can't remember who was the company who was making those. I can't remember who they were working with, who was actually animating them and everything. But the velocity at which those were produced and the quality absolutely blew my mind because I was just from a scripting, storytelling, how good the animation looks and how frequently they are doing it. And in my mind, I was like, this is not sustainable. Like I was just because it's either it's just so expensive or it's just going to be they're just putting all these resources there. That's besides the point. I guess I just think that I'm with Ray where what I always liked was even when an adventure didn't land for me, like if I was like, well, that one was ho-hum, whatever, the decision point adventures like coming around. Like you're like, okay, it's X many adventures and then we get a new decision point adventure. And Lost Sands was just so fun. It's one of my favorite experiences in the game. So yeah, I do think that would be anything where you can just have a little bit. Ray said this word earlier, and I think this is just the key with live service games. It's just anticipation. It's like the community. It sucks, but it's like the community, like in a way, because Rare has to like. There's just a lot of pressure on them, but it's just that whole like what's next thing that kind of drives people to be, drives chatter about the game and interest and speculation and all these things. And like adventures were really good for that. To just have like it always just felt like there was like there's something right around the corner. And I agree with Ray where going into this year. For a live service game, like I love the game, I'm going to play it no matter what. But there is that just kind of like uncertainty of like, okay, we got this. What's next? Adventures are kind of delayed. Yeah. So it's a long-winded way of saying, yeah, I think they would be. I think they are important for that.
Yeah, it needs something. Do you think adventures could be replaced with build red adventures?
How do you mean?
Well, in the beginning, we had Bilge adventures to keep us going, keep us anticipated for, oh, what's next? Oh, mermaid statues. What can that be? Is it going to be good? No, but that's beside the question. But do you think, like with the adventures, you get the lore and you get the story, and with the Bilge adventures, you got just a new gameplay thing added to the game. But still, it is something we can both look forward to. So do you think adventures could be replaced with Bilge adventures again? Or do you think, no, we're used to, big adventures now, so we want those adventures with the lore and story?
I feel like that. I just feel like because they've started, it's kind of that whole thing. They've started the story. People are going to want to see it through, and also like it just felt like such an organic way to have permanent changes happen to the world with New Golden Sands.
Yeah, agree.
So yeah, I feel like that kind of like model would still, whether or not it changes, I do think that would kind of, yeah, I can't see Rare like not doing that anymore, because that they would definitely just lose something, especially based on like, again, even when individual adventures would sometimes be like not received well, like when you when you release, like, what are they on adventure 12 now, right? Is that the next one? Dark Deception is 12. So when you release 11 things, right? Like, sure, some are just going to be duds no matter how much work you put into them. They're not going to be as good as the other ones. But I think overwhelmingly people have enjoyed, if not the adventures, the effects of them. Like, I don't know anyone who's like disappointed with New Golden Sands Outpost or something. Right? Like,
It was the right choice.
I've seen comments about it.
Yeah, you're right. There's going to be people who are that, but by and large, I feel like it was just, I'd go into Discord sometimes, I wouldn't even know they added something, and that was so fun too. It was just like people being like, "Oh my god, this is here now," and whatever. That's cool. I think things like that are important.
So to yeah,
sorry,
go for it, right?
I just have a really ambivalent sort of opinion on adventures, where the ones that were good really hit hard, but they were few, and the ones that were sort of just middling were, they were the rule, not the exception. And you do have this excitement where you don't know where the story's going to go, what's going to happen next, and then you have the excitement of decisions of, I don't know, I just, the end of last year, two things happened that set the story up for massively exciting things. The first was Flameheart being resurrected. The second was that tease with Briggsy and the Dark Brethren, and both those things are really, they're really setting something up cool here. And then the story just stops.
Yeah.
The world's not referencing to it. Lorina's not mentioning. The Pirate Lord and the Servant of the Flame are clearly fighting each other through the Hourglass thing, which was never contextualized in lore at all. I don't know. And then, you always had the paradox of they're not going to add much in these adventures because they're just going to remove them after 2 to 3 weeks, which is always a shame. But I've spoken to Blurbs about this before, but with the Soulflame rowboats and the sort of capturing of forts, that could have been developed into a mechanic, or maybe taken off just to, the rowboats could have stayed, they were fine as they were, but maybe the capturing of forts could have been taken out and then sort of rebalanced to be a feature. And they just never did that, and they never explained why they removed them. The Soulflame rowboats were really fun. I used them to sink a few people as well. It was great. But to sort of go back on track is, you set up this story where it's finally, you're going to get this payoff of Flameheart coming back, and people obviously wanted him to come back because Pendragon got absolutely dicked down in that decision. It was so bad they didn't even show the percentages, which is obviously the reason why. But then there's just been no payoff, and Mike has said that Flameheart's back, but as far as we know, he's in the coffin still. And there's just no mention of it. No one's really acknowledged it in the story. And, it might happen in the future, wherever that is. And then the Temple tease was a really horrible way to end half an arc and say, oh yeah, adventures are being paused. Like, what?
Well, at least it's explained with the lore, with the cannonball, so.
What was explained? Oh,
well, right. That's going to take a long while, and here you have a cannonball. So
yeah, that's fine, completely fine, I get that. But to say that there's this temple that's hidden away in the by the ancients, and have a Christmas teaser before that and say that we're going to explore this temple, and to say, fuck you guys, we're gonna release that when we feel like, and you just, it's like picking up a can of Coke Zero Or no, let's say a can of Coca-Cola and someone's filled it with water, right? You're going to get that nice sip, nothing happens. You think you're getting Coke, you've just got sparkling water, and that's not what you want.
Alright, great.
Yeah, like, I want adventures to continue,
Mm-hmm.
but I want them to be more like Tall Tales. And if that means we get less of them, but we get better quality ones, that's great. Maybe 1 or 2 a season.
Yeah.
One Tall Tale a season would be great, but yeah, I get all these different things about adventures hitting me at the same time, and I miss them. But then we used to sit on the podcast and complain about the bad writing and the plot holes
And the voice acting.
and the voice acting. Yeah, that's the sort of one-off thing. So I don't know. It's really a really weird feeling about them.
Yeah.
But the ones that hit well, like Lost Sands, Shrouded Deep, even the last one was really good, apart from the AI spawns. But and when you think, oh yeah, it's just getting good, it's like, yeah, well, fuck you guys. We'll get around to it. Don't you worry. Yeah.
I think you said it.
Yeah. Just.
So we want them. They're great. They're good for momentum, and it just feels weird that we're not getting that momentum now. And it would be better to get Tall Tales instead of Adventures, and we also agree with that. Even more perfect would be a Tall Tale in the second half of a season with a new feature that also stays in the game in that season, and then you solve all our problems, I think.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, and then cinematic trailer each time.
Yeah, cinematic trailer would be nice. You'd only have to do 4 a year then. Sorry, 3 a year. So,
Right.
And yeah, sorry, just to round that off as well. I think people are hoping for Jack Sparrow and co to come back. I don't think it's happening this year, you know?
Yeah, it will eventually happen, I think, but I don't see it happening soon. No.
I think Adventures will continue to be our story content for the rest of the year. So come back to Sea of Thieves in June, guys. Come on.
That's a good follow-up.
It's July, isn't it? The next season.
Yeah, that's a good follow-up question. When do we think the next adventure will be?
Part of me, like, even though earlier we talked about the Sea Serpent and like, will something be added, or this question too is like, will something be added in the latter half of the season? And part of me, even though I have no idea what it would be, part of me though is like, it's 16 weeks. This feels like pretty finished. I could see them maybe dropping something, but I don't know. I mean, it does seem like a pretty, at least like, I shouldn't. There's a lot of work put in, so I don't mean to be like it's a low-hanging fruit. But it does seem like, okay, 2 months from now, that seems like a relatively easy win to be like, okay, adventures are starting back up again. So that way, there's not just this drought almost until. And I hate saying drought when it's like, it literally, like, I love this update and it just came out. But from the outside perspective of like, because Rare's marketing machine, right? Like, they need to be like, it's a live service game, so the anticipation needs to start building. So I could see, I wouldn't be surprised if it got added this season. I mean, there is another 2 months.
Yeah.
Even if it was come mid-season or at the end of it, that's 3 months from now, right? And they would still have 4 weeks left of the season.
Yeah, I think so too. I think we'll definitely see the adventure this season. Do you feel the same, Ray?
Oh yeah, it's coming this season.
April?
April?
No,
Okay.
Definitely not.
Okay.
Because the mystery is going to be starting after Anniversary, isn't it?
Okay.
So I don't think they'll interload. I don't think they'll have both going on at the same time, especially if they're trying to pan out a season.
Okay, so you're saying May then?
After April.
After April.
Yeah. There's 2 dates.
That's very safe.
There's 2 dates it can be. It could be the May patch or the June patch. It's the only 2 times it can be. Because they're every 4 weeks, aren't they?
Yeah, okay, but they can make exceptions if it's ready, right?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be.
I'm just so optimistic again. I love it.
No, well, it's just the way our patches have been for for this year anyway. It's every month, isn't it? So it's after April.
Okay, my money is in April, but that's just because I want it. You play through if you had to guess next adventure?
Yeah, I would say the latter half of the season. Either halfway through, so I think that would put it in like May roughly, or if it's June, that makes sense because then that would kind of like ramp up into the new season release in July.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. So let's go to the last question, and that question comes from Steel Skull. You guys have gotten various Sea of Thieves community members, content creators, and even developers on the podcast. Have you thought about interviewing any of the voice actors? I think talking to them might be great insight into how they play their characters or even what they think about said characters. Have you thought about that, Ray?
No, I'm joking. Yes, of course. Yeah, I've thought about it, but getting in touch with them would be, possibly quite difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do have certain lines and also lines to the developers. So sometimes we can arrange something, but the voice actors would be a little bit harder. I have never thought about it. I'm going to be completely honest, but it would be cool. And if the opportunity arises, you can bet your ass we are going to take it.
I have a request that the voice actor you get, if you're able to get a voice actor, the first one needs to be the guy who in Legend of the Veil goes, "The Wilds!" Just get that guy.
It's probably
Get the Spanish.
There, surely.
just please. I don't care who it is. Yeah, if they're professional. That is one of my favorite voice lines in it.
That would be good.
That's probably my favorite voice line in the game, to be honest.
I would like to hear how Nicholas Asbury does the Flameheart voice. How he makes it sound like he's got no lips. Because if you listen to the from the Return of the Damned results stream, if you listen to the dialogue from Flameheart there when he's in the painting and when he's being revived and when he has that little cutscene where he comes out behind the table, if you listen to his dialogue, it sounds like he's got no lips.
Interesting.
Which obviously Flameheart doesn't because he's a skeleton. So give that a listen, and I really want to know how Nicholas does it.
All right, so there you hear it. Steel Skull Nicholas is going to be the next one. We'll say yes. Don't worry about it. But yeah, great question. We always are on the lookout to get great and amazing guests, and maybe voice actor, but nothing planned at this moment. But we will do our best. So thanks for that question. And I want to thank everyone for their questions, actually. So thanks for submitting those. Again, make sure to join the Salty Echo Discord if you want to submit your own questions. I always post an announcement when we are close to recording a new episode. I also want to remind all listeners that this podcast is also on Spotify and Amazon Music. So if that's more convenient for you, you can listen to us there. Keep in mind that new episodes premiere on YouTube first and will be on Spotify and Amazon a few days, a few weeks, or a few months later. And you can also follow us on Twitter at BestCOT and the link to that is also in the description. So lots of links for you to click on. And we have come to the end of the podcast. So I want to thank our guests for being amazing. And can you tell our listeners where they can find your content?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, man. It was great to just talk Sea of Thieves with you guys. And we are on YouTube and Twitch at pleythru. And yeah, I guess Twitter too. But those are our main homes.
Can you quickly mention, because you are a second guest, well, you are a returning guest, but for those that didn't listen to the other episode, what's your content about?
So we have a kind of a mix right now of just cinematic content. We have gameplay story content. If you've seen Reaper Run, or most people have seen the Kegmaster exploding, that's us. So yeah, just look for funny Sea of Thieves cinematic content with ongoing stories and gameplay.
Hi, if you like fun and Sea of Thieves, check Playthru out. And where can our listeners find your content, Ray?
Just pop in AShinyRay on YouTube in the search bar. You should be able to find me. Or you can find me at AShinyRayquaza on Twitter. So feel free to tweet me and I shall respond.
And I can also be found on YouTube at Captain Blubber. And I also have a Goodreads account, which is also Captain Blubber. So you can check that out as well. Anyways, make sure you give this podcast a thumbs up. That's always appreciated. And please leave a comment and share your thoughts. We do read all of them. So yeah, this is the end. If you did listen to the end, you are a better person compared to everyone else. So thanks again and take care.
Take care, guys. Bye.
Take it easy.